Alexander Hamilton's Tariff Vision, a cornerstone of American prosperity. Welcome to today's program, everyone. I'm thrilled to guide you through the life and mind of one of America's most fascinating founders, Alexander Hamilton. You might know him as the face on the $10 bill or the star of a hit musical, but he was also the first U.S. Treasury Secretary and a brilliant economic thinker. Today, we're focusing on his tariff policy, essentially a tax on imported goods, and how it shaped America's early economy. It's a story of ambition, ingenuity, and a vision for a strong nation. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's explore how Hamilton used tariffs to build America's future. Here we go. Part 1. The world Hamilton stepped into. To get Hamilton's tariff ideas, we need to set the scene. Late 18th century America. Picture this. It's 1783. The Revolutionary War just ended, and the United States is finally free from British rule. But freedom came at a cost. The country was a mess, economically shattered, buried in war debt, and barely holding together. The central government under the Articles of Confederation was weak, with no real power to tax or regulate trade. The 13 states acted like mini-countries, squabbling over everything, while the economy leaned heavily on farming. Think tobacco in Virginia, rice in the Carolinas, wheat up north. Industry? Almost non-existent. Americans imported everything from nails to teacups from Europe, especially Britain. Enter Alexander Hamilton. Born in the Caribbean in 1755, or maybe 1757, historians still argue. He arrived in America in 1772 as a scrappy, self-taught teenager. He fought in the Revolution, served as Washington's aide, and saw firsthand how a lack of money crippled the war effort. By 1789, when President George Washington tapped him as Treasury Secretary, Hamilton faced a dire situation, a national debt of $54 million, huge for the time, and a government so broke it couldn't pay its soldiers. He knew America couldn't just be politically independent. It needed economic muscle. And tariffs, he decided, were the way to flex it. Part 2. Why tariffs mattered to Hamilton. So what's a tariff? It's a tax slapped on goods coming into the country, like a fee you pay at the port for bringing in British cloth or French wine. Simple enough, right? But for Hamilton, tariffs were a Swiss Army knife of policy, versatile and powerful. Let's break down his 3 big reasons for loving them. Reason 1. Filling the government's empty pockets. The U.S. government in 1789 was like a startup with no cash flow. Hamilton needed revenue fast, and he didn't want to rile up citizens with direct taxes. Think of the Boston Tea Party backlash. In the Federalist Papers, number 12, he argued that tariffs were the answer. Easy to collect at ports, no knocking on farmhouse doors. His 1790 Tariff Act proved it worked. Within a year, it raked in millions, enough to start paying off debts and fund basic operations. For Hamilton, a full treasury wasn't just about money. It was about credibility. If America could pay its bills, it could borrow again and stand tall on the world stage. Reason 2. Shielding America's baby industries. Hamilton had this great phrase. He called American manufacturing infant industries. Picture a wobbly toddler trying to compete with a marathon runner. That's how he saw U.S. factories against Europe's industrial giants. Britain had steam engines, skilled workers, and cheap goods flooding American markets. Without help, American manufacturers wouldn't survive. Tariffs, Hamilton said, would raise the price of imports, giving local businesses a fighting chance. In his 1791 report on manufactures, he laid out, protect industries like textiles and iron now, and they'd grow strong enough to compete later. It was about building a future, not just surviving the present. Reason 3. Breaking free from foreign dependence. Here's where Hamilton's vision shines. He didn't want America to be Europe's errand boy, exporting cotton and importing everything else. That setup left the country vulnerable. What if war broke out again? Or if Britain jacked up prices? Hamilton dreamed of self-sufficiency, Americans making their own tools, clothes, even ships. Tariffs would nudge people to buy local, sparking jobs and innovation. He saw it as a matter of pride, too. A nation that can't stand on its own economically isn't truly free. Part 3. Hamilton's Tariff Playbook in action. Hamilton wasn't just a talker, he was a doer. Let's see how he turned his tariff ideas into reality. Right out of the gate, in 1790, he pushed Congress to pass the Tariff Act. It set rates between 5% and 15% on most imports, with higher taxes on luxuries like wine and silk. Ports buzzed with activity, and the cash started flowing. Over $2 million in the first year alone, a lifeline for a broke government. But Hamilton was clever about it. He kept taxes low on essentials like salt and coarse cloth so regular folks wouldn't feel pinched, while hitting the wealthy with higher rates on their fancy imports. Smart, right? He didn't stop there. In his report on manufactures, he pitched a bigger plan. Pair tariffs with subsidies for key industries and incentives to bring European know-how to America. He even suggested bounties, cash rewards, for things like textile production. It was bold, almost like a modern industrial policy, and it ruffled feathers. Southerners like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison weren't fans. They argued tariffs hurt their export-driven economy. Cotton and tobacco planters needed cheap imports, not higher prices. Hamilton fired back. Agriculture's great, but a balanced economy with industry is better. He wanted both regions to thrive, even if it meant short-term tension. One fun story. Hamilton once toured a New Jersey factory making cloth, just to prove American industry could work. He showed up in a suit made from that very fabric, a walking advertisement for his ideas. That's the kind of guy he was, hands-on and relentless. Part 4. The Legacy of Hamilton's Tariffs. So, did Hamilton's tariffs deliver? Let's look at the scoreboard. In the short term, they were a slam dunk. The revenue stabilized the government, paid off war debts, and restored America's credit. By 1795, the U.S. could borrow from Dutch bankers at decent rates. Long term, his protectionist streak set the stage for America's industrial boom. Through the 19th century, tariffs stayed high, shielding factories that eventually made the U.S. a global powerhouse by the 1900s. Think steel mills in Pittsburgh, textile towns in New England. All routes trace back to Hamilton's playbook. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The South-North divide over tariffs deepened, fueling debates that later exploded into the Civil War. And as trade globalized, pure protectionism lost some shine. Still, Hamilton's foresight was uncanny. He saw tariffs as more than tax. They were a tool to sculpt a nation's destiny. Conclusion: what Hamilton teaches us today. And that's our journey through Hamilton's tariff world. Alexander Hamilton wasn't perfect. He was prickly, polarizing, and met a tragic end in that 1804 duel with Aaron Burr. But his tariff vision was a masterstroke of practicality and ambition. He took a broke, fragile country and gave it a financial backbone, all while dreaming of factories humming across the land. What's the takeaway? Maybe it's this: economic policies aren't just numbers. They're about vision, grit, and betting on the future. Hamilton's tariffs built an America that could stand tall, and that's a legacy worth remembering. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. If Hamilton's story sparked your curiosity, or if you've got thoughts to share, drop us a message. Until next time, take care.